You're watching Aurora 8, television for your city.
Greetings and welcome to Dateline Aurora. Our guest for this program is a remarkable woman who was a struggling single mom who worked very hard to get her master's degree. She's a lady who later lost her son and future daughter-in-law in a violent double homicide. Afterwards, she fought for justice and for better witness protection in Colorado. And now she is the state representative for the people of Aurora from House District 42. We visit with Representative Rhonda Fields coming up next on Dateline Aurora. Greetings and welcome to Dateline Aurora. I'm Adam Dempsey. Rhonda Fields has endured personal tragedy, if I can say it, and come out of it determined to improve the lives of others. She's here with us today to share her story, her passion, and her goals for Aurora. Representative Fields, welcome to our program. Hi.
Thanks so much for having me.
We've been trying to get with you for some time.
I'm here.
And in the middle of the session, too.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for taking a moment. It's been a long, trying journey, 10 years, even 5 years ago. Did you have any thoughts of becoming an elected official at all?
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be a politician.
Yeah. Now, is there a difference in being an elected official and a politician?
I think there is. I think there is.
Politicians just keep talking all the time.
That's
elected
right.
officials get work done.
That's true. Let me correct myself.
What was it like the day you took the oath of office?
You know, it was a very inspiring moment for me. Because I just never imagined that I would be a state representative representing the people of Aurora.
Right.
You know, it wasn't anything I saw for myself. So for me to be there and to share it with my family was just a very uplifting moment.
Yeah. What was it like that night? Because I think I saw you a couple of days, about a week before.
Yeah.
You're very cordial. Yes, I'm running, you know, da-da-da. And next thing you know, I won.
Yes.
You said, oh my gosh.
Yes,
I gotta do something now.
did it. I did it. And shortly after winning, of course, you know, we got trained. And then after getting training, we have to have our bill ideas together. So I had to already kind of pull a lot of things together in a short amount of time.
And it had to be exciting to have your family there. We just saw some pictures of them with you. Those are just going to be
Those are my granddaughters, and
forever.
They're just so proud of me, and they've been able to share that moment with their schoolmates.
And they can say that my grandma's down there making laws and you better obey them, right?
Yes, of course.
You've already had some success right off the bat. Two bills you've been working on. Tell us about those.
Yes, in fact, a third one was passed today out of the House.
Oh, okay.
So my three bills are: one is a military checkoff box. So if you get a return from your income tax, you can check off a military relief fund, and those funds will go to help our troops.
Oh, how is it going to help your troops?
You know, sometimes when you leave a family member at home and that spouse is on the reserve, sometimes there's a loss of income, and sometimes there's things that whoever is at home managing the household needs some extra support. So this fund will allow that family member to get some support that way.
Yeah, right. We see you with some of the troops there, and they need all the help and support that we can give them.
Yes.
So what are you working on next outside of that one? What's the second one?
The second bill is a physical activity bill, and this is a statewide requirement that will require our school, elementary school kids to have 15 minutes of a recess break per day. So,
wait a minute, we're legislating a recess break?
We are. We really are, because in the state of Colorado, there's no requirement for physical activity, and there's no requirement for physical ed.
Right.
So what you have is you have kids not moving enough. They're not required to take gym. So this bill will mandate 2 15-minute breaks per day, 150 hours a week.
And that'll take care of some of the overweight children that we see.
That's the goal.
On the bus and that kind.
To get them on the road of fitness, a healthier lifestyle.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it may have changed. I think each representative gets the opportunity to bring 4 bills up.
5.
5 now. Okay. What else are we doing outside of that, or
So
have you said I'll just do 2?
No, I'm doing 5. So I have my bill that just passed today is a DUI bonding measures.
Right.
So if you have been caught drinking and driving on your 3rd offense, then to be bonded out, you have to meet certain conditions. The conditions includes treatment. It includes alcohol monitoring devices and an interlock device on your car. That also passed out of the House.
An interlock device in the car? You can't even start the car then.
That's right. You have to blow into it before you can drive.
Really? A breathalyzer to start the car?
That's right.
Ooh, technology is going all kinds of places. What else do you have that
So
we need to look forward to?
Then my very last bill, which is going to be coming up for floor vote, is on a consumer credit bill. And this bill puts in place remedies for people who are defrauded by different agencies like the rapid refund agencies or your payday lending agency or your rent to buy agency.
Right.
It'll put some fines in place. So if you're caught defrauding a consumer, then they're going to have to pay for that.
Ah, okay, then that has a pretty good chance of passage
I
as
think
well.
so.
Even before you became a representative, you also worked on legislation at the Capitol as a citizen.
Yes.
What did you work on? And I think it's in effect now too, right?
Yes, it is. You know, we passed 2 bills, and when I say we, myself and Vivian's mom, Christine Wolf, we created some legislation to protect witnesses when they come forth with information that would solve a crime. So it's the Javad Marshall Fields and Vivian Wolf Witness Protection Program, and part of that program is that a witness will be advised of their rights, as well as assessment will take place. So if there's any risks associated with testifying, then a victim's advocate or the DA's office or the police officer will go through and identify if that person might be in danger for testifying.
Here's a shot of you with Governor Ritter at the time. I guess he signed it into law, didn't right?
He did.
And it came up when you indicated your son was killed, and I think that was about a week before he was set to testify.
That's right. 5 days before he was due to be in court.
That, I guess the one thing we parents never want to do is to think that we're going to outlive our children.
Right.
That had to be not only extraordinary for you to have to pull things back together.
Right. It was absolutely devastating. It kind of shocked my whole foundation, and it was just devastating. It was almost like watching the Twin Towers fall all over again because my rising star was just taken away from me.
What was he, do you remember the case he was going to testify on? Do you remember?
Yes,
you know, because you were in court all the time.
Yes, I do. He was going to testify because he saw his best friend get murdered. And shortly after that murder, he worked with the police to identify what he saw, what he heard. And from that, they were able to apprehend this person. And he was going to face the charges. And he thought he was going to get away with murder by killing my son because he did not want to go to jail.
How did you hear about what had happened with your son? Was it a phone call? Was it?
You know, I had one of Javad's friends come to my door. He had driven all the way down from Fort Collins, and he had heard that Javad had gotten shot. And so he came to my door, and he told me that Javad had been hurt. And he took me to the crime scene. So my notification came from Javad's best friend.
From his best friend. What advice do you have for a parent who may have to be confronted with a similar circumstance? Maybe it may not be gang-related. It could be just a car accident which takes a child.
Right. You know, I think for me, grief is something that you really can't fast forward. It's something that you have to take your time to process. And it's taken me all of this lifetime for me to still process the death of my son. It's something that I live with every day. All I can say is it's because of my faith that I'm able to to go through it each day. So it's my faith that gets me through it.
And wrapping that part up, how many men were tried? And
3.
3. And
So
where are they now?
they're all in Canyon City. 2 are on death row.
2 are on death row.
Right.
I just, every time I reflect on that, and I have 2 sons, I think, what would I do? And I watch you and what you do, and you visit your son.
Yes,
and
I do.
Future daughter-in-law all the time.
I do. And you know, I see them as being my guiding angels. I mean, they've been orchestrating and ordering my steps, I think, along the way. And they give me strength. It was important for my son that that there was justice served for his best friend. And so I had no other choice but to seek justice on his behalf, because that's what he wanted.
Is that one of the reasons why you were in court every day?
Absolutely, because I had to be his face. I had to be the image. I had to make sure that the jury members knew that he had a mom and he had a family and that we loved him.
Yes, yes. I know we have the picture of you there at the memorial, at the cemetery.
Yeah, they're buried side by side.
Side by side. And speaking of side by side, you have the Fields Wolf Memorial Fund. Could you tell us about that?
I do. Shortly after Javad passed, we wanted to solve the crime. So what we did is we had a warrant out. I think they call it like a Crime Stopper. So we were raising funds for Crime Stoppers, but we were very fortunate because the Aurora Police Department solved the crime. And so with the funds that we raised from Crime Stoppers, we were able to establish the Fields Wolf Memorial Fund. And since that fund, we have 6 scholars, and we follow those scholars from their freshman year into graduation. And they get $3,000 a year.
And when the trials were over, how'd you feel?
You know, still a sense of loss and emptiness. It felt good that we got some resolution, because as a mother, I now know what happened to my son, who did it, and I know that they're held accountable for that. But it doesn't bring my son back. So, you know, I'm still having to live with that loss, but there was a sense of victory because we got justice, but the price for it was just too high.
It led to the bill being passed. Do you think your public life or your public involvement was going to be complete then? The bill is done, the trial is over, you can go back to, I think, United Airlines and take care of your job. Yeah,
just kind of go back to things, not as usual because that's somebody's missing.
Right.
But I felt like at least that chapter in my life had closed because there was no need to go back to that courtroom again.
Right. And then somebody shows up at the door and says, hey, we got another job for you.
Yes.
How did you decide to not so much run for office, but to start down that path?
You know, I was called by Representative Karen Middleton. It was her seat, and she had expressed to me that she was going to vacate the seat and move to California. And she asked me if I would be interested in running. And so, of course, I said, me? Why me? And she says, well, I'm going to have the Speaker of the House talk to you, which was Terrence Carroll, and we want to talk to you, you know, if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I did talk. Before I did that, I talked to my family. My family said, sure. Talked to my pastor. He said, go for it. I talked to United Airlines. They were supportive. And then I talked to Speaker Carroll and some other folks, and they encouraged me. And basically, they just saw something in me beyond what I could see for myself in reference to that arena.
Now, did you have to be appointed first to fill Karen's unexpired term?
Yeah, I had to run a vacancy campaign. So what happens is there's a vacancy, so then people from House District 42, there's about 30 of them, come and they listen to you speak. It's like a campaign speech, and there were 3 other candidates. And I was able to be successful for that vacancy committee.
All right. And did you know you could make a political speech like that?
You know, I guess I can. I did.
And you did, and successful with that. You mentioned you spoke to your family.
Yes.
You have a wonderfully supportive family through all of this.
I do. I do.
And includes your daughter, Maisha?
Yes, Maisha.
Okay.
And Maisha is, you know, my only child, and so she also lost her brother, and she's just been just a constant companion when it comes for me to do anything. She's just right there.
Yep, she has your big smile.
Thank you, she does.
Yeah, it's been important to you to have her support all the way through, right?
Yes.
And you have grandchildren.
I have three.
Three?
Nairima, Nyla, and Nia.
Oh, okay.
And my son-in-law there, my son, and then my mom. That's
Three
my
generations
family.
there.
That's right.
Wonderful. I got to talk to him and see how he survives with all them ladies in the
He does
same
pretty
house.
good.
You all give him a chance to say anything. Oh, that is so great. You want to stay in the legislature after your term is up? You want to run again?
You know, I'm taking it one session at a time. And so at this point, yes, I'm planning on running again. But, you know, for me, it's so premature to be talking about that right now because we're only 40 days in the session. So, and I still have another year on that term.
Right.
So.
What are some of the needs that Aurora has that you've seen so far that you'd like to work on?
You know, it's jobs in the economy. You know, people are looking for work. People want to be working, and the economy and the opportunities for people to work. There's just not a lot of employment out there. So the number one thing that I heard that people want is jobs, jobs, jobs. There's also a concern for our school. They want stronger schools. Seniors want to be protected.
I know you said about schools real quick before we go on to seniors there. Your bill that makes sure that recess is there.
Yes,
and
physical activity.
And Aurora Public Schools that said they're not going to do PE anymore. That sort of brings that back full circle for them, saying, well, you're going to do something.
Right. Well, they are doing physical activity in Aurora Public Schools.
Okay.
What they've done is they've taken it out as a requirement, and it's now an elective. Okay. So they haven't done away with physical activity.
All right.
They've just removed it as an elective,
so we want to make
as
sure
a requirement.
That there's a clarity there at least.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one you said senior citizens.
Yes.
Don't be looking at me so hard saying, that's you. No, that's not me.
You know, there's,
But it is.
Yeah, well, you know, the population in House District 42, we have a fair number of retired military people, and they're concerned about, you know, making sure that their Social Security stays intact, that there's not going to be, you know, an increase on their property taxes, and they're just concerned about health care and those kinds of things in general.
But you have so many things that come from the Fed.
Yes.
How does a state representative interdict that to make sure it works for your constituents a lot better?
Right. Well, you know, at a local level, we have authority to kind of shape how those programs are going to be administered at the local level.
Ah, okay.
So, you know, when we get told or when we have to do health care, then we have to decide how are we going to manage that.
Now, Aurora is going to be, excuse me, Aurora is a little more on the forefront of public transportation. They're widening 225. We're going to see more transportation projects like that because I mentioned 225 because that's a state project.
Right.
Okay. And then RTD eventually will put something down the middle of that. Is that what we're saying?
Right, and those are all great
that you're
things.
going to have to help with?
Yeah, those are all great things. The City of Aurora has done some phenomenal things as it relates to economic development. When you look at what's going on with the Anschutz Center and you look at what's going on in the north end of Colfax there, what they've done with the town center.
Right.
And then the widening of 225. I think we're doing all the right things to get us ready for the future.
You're not the only representative from the Aurora area.
No.
Okay, how does the caucus work together? Do you get together and decide what bills you're going to support as a group that's good for the city?
You know, we have a strong group of women. We have Senator Morgan Carroll, we have Representative Sue Ryden, and then we also have Representative Nancy Todd, and then we also have Senator Suzanne Williams.
Oh, that's right.
So we're all Arapahoe County Dems.
So how did all these women get into? We got to break this up.
We're just doing a phenomenal job,
Yeah,
and we do meet. We get together. We discuss things that are going on in our different districts, and we do town halls together when appropriate.
Right.
And we have coffee chats together. So we have a very strong bond.
Maybe it's one day on a Dateline Aurora, we'll have everybody here at the same
That
time.
would be great.
But all of you also need volunteers to read bills to help you, right?
Yes, we do.
If somebody wanted to volunteer and do that, how do they get started? Do they just pick up the phone and call you from a directory and say, I volunteer?
You know, there's an easy way. People can go onto my website, which is Rhonda@rhondafields.com, or any of the state representatives or senators that they would like to volunteer with. They can just go onto their official website, and there's an opportunity to find out ways to get involved, get updates about what's going on with us under the dome.
And some of them may elect to run later.
Sure.
Maybe.
That'd be great.
Help you.
I think we need to be thinking about that next generation of, lawmakers.
Speaking of that, what would you say to a young lady in high school now or in college who may think a political profession is the thing she should do?
I would say just do it. You know, I'm down at the state capitol with 65 other people, and it's a very realistic dream. So I would encourage any young girl or young man who wants to pursue a career in our government to do so.
But we hear the stories that it's still a good old boys club and there's no room for ladies down there. Are you finding that?
You know, I'm finding that we can break the ceiling. I mean, there's still room for us to kind of just break whatever perceptions that are out there. So I'm not aware of the good old network because I'm trying to focus on what I think is best for the people of Aurora. And so I'm not kind of plugged into those kinds of dynamics. I'm just trying to do the best thing I can for the people of Colorado.
Well, I know Governor Hickenlooper put forth a bill that cut education a lot down there.
Yes.
And you're on the House side, and all the revenue bills start on the House side.
Yes.
That's got to be a difficult bill to take a look at for the long bill, which comes up later.
Yeah, that is because education is investing in our future. And if you cut from education, it's almost that you're cutting from our future. It's our kids. And it's our kids that are going to be taking over. They're our next generation of leaders. And if we don't invest in them now, then when?
Right. Redistricting is going to be pretty big this year. How do you think that's going to go?
That's going to be interesting. It's my understanding that the census data is in, and there's going to be a commission that's going to be looking at that and making some recommendations about how we should redivide the district. For House District 42, I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like. It's going to be bigger, I assume, and it could branch out, but I don't know which way. I don't know if it's going to go further north, if it's going to go south. You know, there's going to be some open hearings so that we can get some citizen input on there, and we'll see.
I haven't heard if we're going to be adding any legislators, but because of the growth of the state, we probably are. Unlike the congressionals, where they're going to remain largely the same. But have you heard that if they're going to be adding people because of population shift or not yet?
No, I have not heard. I think we're going to keep the number that we have, so we're not going to be decreasing, and I don't think we're going to be increasing. We're just going to be drawing the lines differently.
I'm doing a number of hodgepodge things now, but I know the Denver area has had an emphasis on international business, international flight, that kind of thing. How does the international feel work for the city of Aurora? You
know, I think whenever we contract, you know, any kind of business, you know, throughout our nation or international to come to our city, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to attract businesses from an international viewpoint would be great for our economy here.
You like hearing from citizens to come up with things that you should consider working on, or at least advising your colleagues at the Capitol about?
I do, because I want to be working on legislation that's important to the people that put me into office. So the only way I can do that is if people tell me what the issues are, what the concerns are, and then we can talk about ways to create some remedies for those things.
Because people out here probably know more about what's going on to communicate to you, because you can't be everywhere at the same time or all the time.
That's right. And that's how I got my laws started. You know, I went to my state representative and I laid out my problem, and we were able to craft a bill, and it was voted on. So, I mean, that's how things get done. People really need to kind of exercise their authority as a citizen and stay engaged with their state representative or the senator.
Yeah, and what you're also saying is that the elected officials there, including yourself especially, are very accessible.
Yes.
And so that simply because we see it on television and the news at night doesn't mean we can't contact you.
Absolutely.
Get some help, or at least get some insight or volunteer.
They put us in office, and we have a responsibility to every single citizen. So we have to be. I feel like personally, I need to be accessible.
Yeah. So what are you going to do the day after the session is done?
After the session is done, I'm probably going to look back and get a sense of what I accomplished, and look at what are some of the key learning moments from that, so I can be better at it the next year. And
take a few days off before you go back to be a real worker bee then, huh?
You know, even though they say it's part-time, it's really full-time. So it's really never taking any time off. You know, I'm still accountable for the people in Aurora, and so I'm still available to support them. We're just not in session.
And then each year you reflect on the loss of your child.
You know, that's a daily reflection for me. So there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Javad and maybe what he would have been doing at this point, you know, if he would have kids, you know, those kinds of things. So I'm constantly thinking about him and what he would be doing and what kind of young man he would be.
You're a woman of remarkable strength, incredible integrity.
Thank you.
I tell you, if anything happens with me, I'm drawing my modeling from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for this edition of Dateline Aurora. We do thank you for watching and invite you back here again next month. I'm Adam Dempsey. Good night.